Hey, welcome to the Trauma Recovery Podcast. I want to quickly talk to you about the devastating traumatic events of dyslexia discrimination. So if you don't know me, I am Wendy Kier, the host of this YouTube channel and also the author of the book Be More Wolf, a survivor's story, breaking the trauma cycle. So what I thought I would firstly do is read a small part of my book, which I'm taking from chapter 4. Okay, so a lot of people might think that dyslexia discrimination is not traumatic, but here's the thing: when you build layer on layer on layer of discrimination, of bullying, of thinking that you're not smart enough, not clever enough, not intelligent enough to fit in with your peers, you start to change your behavior. That bullying over a length of time will ultimately become ingrained into your identity and personality. It leaves a thumbprint which can be quite traumatic. Because what happens is with dyslexia discrimination, or my experience of dyslexia discrimination, is that those layers upon layers upon layers from multiple of different circumstances and different people meant that I changed my behavior or tried to change my behavior to fit in with other people. So I always thought that I wasn't enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't intelligent enough. I just wasn't enough to be able to sit next to my peers because of the dyslexia discrimination that I had experienced. You're wondering what that sharp noise is. I live on the edge of the jungle, and it's almost like someone has turned on a switch and the carbs have come out. I'm hoping you can't hear it, but it is almost deafening. Okay, so I want to read a part of my book from chapter 4, which is focusing on the 3 biggest traumas that happened in my life. I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, count dyslexia discrimination as being one of the main traumas I have faced in my life. So excuse me reading from the screen. It's only a short couple of paragraphs. So I think it's pretty fair to say that my school years were pretty much non-existent. The schooling I did have was chaotic. I only remember attending school when I was adopted, and when I went later, I was put into the remedial classes because it was felt that I was too slow and too disruptive to be part of the mainstream classes. My work history is also as chaotic as my upbringing in the care system. That's my kittens now running around the studio lights. Behave. Oh, okay. I'm just waiting for the bird thing to kick off. Yeah, so my work history was as chaotic as my upbringing in the UK care system. I learned from a very early age, or very early on in my employment, that my employers were not to be trusted. I've taken 2 employers to court over dyslexia discrimination. I was also made homeless by a charity for grassing my boss up for stealing of residents' money and the petty cash. Also being instantly fired from another job because the director discovered I was dyslexic. Rejected from countless universities, failed numerous exams, and constantly corrected by others for not being able to spell properly, and that still happens now. And what's really sad about that is that other dyslexics do it to other dyslexics, which I find really bizarre. I became hypervigilant, hypersensitive, and found it difficult to know who to trust, so I trusted no one. I was always the first person to arrive at work. I kept my head down and worked hard. I often compared myself to other people, that ashamed, thick, not intelligent enough, and was fearful of being judged all the time. I learned to keep myself quiet and keep my distance so people would not have it in for me. I didn't know how to manage myself when other people were around me. I'm still to this day constantly corrected and asked to change my spelling, even, as I said, by fellow dyslexics. I never felt smart or intelligent enough to sit alongside my peers because the ongoing, sometimes brutal dyslexia discrimination, other people's judgments never seemed to stop, which was constantly re-triggering my need to survive. So I associated not being good, smart, or intelligent enough with extreme loss and survival. So because I experienced so much discrimination around my dyslexia, I associated a tremendous sense of loss, because each time I lost my job or I had to fight for my job, I was put in such uncomfortable positions that I would have to fight my corner, which is a pretty hard thing to do when you are fighting discrimination against an organization and you're having to go to court to sort it out. One job was so bad that I did something I thought I would never do, and after the meeting I was sick in the toilet, and then I went to my desk, gathered my things, and I just said, I don't feel very well. I left and I never went back. And we went to court for unfair dismissal, which is basically when things become so extreme, you feel so bullied and attacked that you just walk away. You cut your losses. It's not an easy thing to do. But I'd reached the tipping point of I cannot take this abuse anymore from, it was a group of other women that felt that I didn't fit in with the team. So that level of discrimination has quite an impact on your personality, for sure. It has quite an impact on the way you see other people and interact with other people around you. So one of the strategies I use to manage and understand how I'm reacting to certain situations is a process I've designed called the trauma recovery method. And within part of that process, what we do is we manage the traumatized mind, which is your experiences of dyslexia discrimination. You know, what happened? How did that turn into a traumatic event for you? What energy are you holding on to around those events? Because that doesn't leave you until you find a new way to look at it and are able to release it and let it go. Otherwise, it shows up later on further in life. Trust me. Oh, I've got a cat behind me. Yeah, so this is how we do it. We look at the traumatized mind, which is your experiences around dyslexia discrimination. What's created that behavior? What happened? Now, we don't dig deep into the discrimination it is that you have faced. Come on, Trouble. We don't dig deep into that discrimination. You know, we don't hit it head on. We go round sideways and look at the behavior rather than actually coming at the incident head on, because coming onto the incident head on re-triggers the traumatic event, which we absolutely do not want. So the traumatized mind, getting a sense of actually what's created the thoughts, feelings, and behavior because of those traumatic events. Then we move into what I call the conscious creator, which is a gatekeeper between the traumatic event or traumatic experiences, that heavy attachment you have to what's happened. Then we have a space where you consciously create how it is you want to move forward. So this is really about looking at the very best version of you. Some people call it your higher self, but it's the very best version of you who's going to gatekeep your thoughts, your thinking and behavior from a fresh perspective, so you can step into who it is you truly are. So you move away from the traumatized mind that has been keeping you stuck for so long without you even realizing it most of the time. I didn't realize the trauma from dyslexia discrimination had still such a hold on me until I started to get under the skin of why was I thinking that I wasn't valuable enough to sit next to my peers, and why did I feel that my voice was not heard? You know, going underneath and connecting the dots between these experiences helps you to create a new perspective, to be able to release and let go what it is that you experienced, and then move into a space where you can take inspired action for moving forward. Dyslexia discrimination is really hard hitting. It really hits you at the core because it's an ongoing event. It just never seems to stop. People are always criticizing or, you know, asking you to change your spelling, asking you to rewrite it. They don't understand something. They just can't help themselves. I think people are so hardwired to say you've spelled this wrong that they just cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves. But when you get under the skin of that trauma and you set it in context to the here and now, and you think about who it is, the very best version of you it is that you want to move into, then you can start to manage the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, and the values you have created around the discrimination it is that you have faced. So this is a really proactive, conscious piece of work which helps you recover and heal much more quickly than if you weren't doing anything. And I would suggest if you have experienced a level of dyslexia discrimination, then this would be a great process for you to go through, for you to really tap into how those negative experiences are impacting your life now. I'd be very, very surprised if those negative experiences aren't impacting your quality of life in some shape or another. You may not consciously be aware of it, but it could be stopping you from progressing in the area it is that you want to be progressing in. Because the mind's part of the mind job, and it does a bloody good job, actually too good, is to keep you safe, is to keep you out of harm's way. So if you've been experiencing dyslexia discrimination, then the brain is going to work hard to keep you out of harm's way from experiencing more discrimination, which ultimately changes your behavior. This is the bit I'm trying to get at. It's the change in your behavior because of the experiences that you have had. But the trick is to get underneath the skin of your behavior, see what's playing out, and then consciously create a roadmap, not a big roadmap, just inspired action that you need to take to help you recover and heal from those traumatic events. So if you found this video useful with all the distractions, sorry about that. I like things to be in the raw. Now they're fast asleep, both of them. Isn't that typical? And of course, the noise has suddenly stopped, I've just noticed. If you like this channel, Trauma Recovery Podcast, if you found this content valuable, please do hit the like button and subscribe so you can get notifications of up and coming videos that I will be releasing. Have any questions, just pop them below in the chat box or DM me, send me a direct message or send me an email. That's absolutely fine. Reach out if you have a question. Well, please share this video if you know someone who either has a dyslexic child or, you know, you've experienced dyslexia discrimination. You know, in your work environment, that would be absolutely awesome. But you've got this. You've absolutely got this. You don't need to continue feeling like you're not enough, not smart enough, not intelligent enough. You don't need to be stuck for the rest of your life. This is easily solvable. Till next time, pretty cat, I will